Education Project Specialist. Here at the Maxwell and Eleanor Blum Patient and Family Learning Center, I help manage all the programming here at the Blum Center. Please be aware that Mass General will be live streaming and recording this session for Mass General social media. Mass General staff are trained in patient safety and privacy. Staff won't interfere in this presentation in any way. If you're not comfortable asking questions out loud, feel free to write them on the card. You can raise your hand or place them in the basket and I can ask them for you. So today we have Alyssa Tisdale. She is a dietetic intern for the Department of Nutrition and Food Services at Mass General Hospital, and she is here today to give a talk on holiday healthy eating. So please join me in welcoming Alyssa.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming and thank you for those that are watching. So like Amy said, I'm going to be talking about healthy holiday eating. So a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today is some healthy holiday eating tips, how to balance your plate, how to mindfully eat, getting physically active, and why you don't have to stress about that holiday meal. So some common holiday thoughts that we usually hear or think ourselves is healthy eating and holidays don't mix. But I kind of want to challenge that today because you can always be mindful with whatever you're eating, and maybe it's not like that huge salad that you usually have, but you can still get those vegetables in that meal and still be mindful about the things that you're eating. And just changing that mindset will actually really help you with staying mindful and having just a better thinking process of that meal. Another holiday thought is gain weight now and then diet after New Year's. So actually the average weight gain through the holiday season is about 1 to 2 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot, right? But this actually accumulates over the years, studies have shown. So trying to be mindful of what you're eating now throughout this holiday season, instead of gaining that 1 to 2 pounds, trying to keep that weight off, and so you don't accumulate it over the time. And this weight is not coming from those holiday meals. You know, we only have maybe 4 Christmas parties, and those 4 meals are not going to contribute that weight. It's the continuous snacking and grazing on that high sugar, high fat foods that are found most common in this season. For example, you know, like if you get like a Starbucks Christmas drink or a Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, those are usually like 400 calories. So let's say you have one of those in the morning, and then at night you're snacking on a Christmas cookie or something. That's already about like 700 extra calories that you wouldn't be eating. And it only takes about, so a pound is technically around 3,500 calories. So let's say you had the 500 calories extra a day. Within 7 days, so 1 week, we would see probably a 1 pound weight gain. So that's kind of how that works. And then another common holiday thought is leave the holiday party feeling sick and bloated. So this is what I want to challenge today. This is what most of my presentation will be on. And I just want to preface this whole presentation with saying that it's not just about the food. Thinking about a family that we don't see that often, celebrating and give thanks, and then thinking about those special traditions that we have. Because I know we have some traditions that we only do this time of year, and kind of putting your joy into that, you'll find yourself that you enjoy it more, you enjoy the season more, and then you're able to be satisfied with something that's not food. But since food is so important still, we're going to go through what a day of a life would be in a healthy holiday meal. So think of it as a normal day. Let's say you wake up at, 8 a.m. and you're like, I'm not going to eat anything this whole day because I want to save my calories. Really, there's no need for that, and it's actually better if you eat. And I'll explain that more in the next slide. What you want to do is you want to focus on lean proteins and vegetables. So let's say you woke up at 8 a.m., you had breakfast, and you did something like an egg omelet with vegetables. Or you did a parfait with Greek yogurt, granola, and some fruit. And then you usually eat lunch around 12, so you did something like a chicken salad with sweet potato, guacamole, onions. And then you have a snack, or you usually have dinner at 5. So and your holiday meal is not until 7, instead of skipping that time, that 5 p.m. time, having something like a apple and peanut butter or a cheese stick and an orange, that will kind of like settle your stomach, and so you won't be going into that meal like feeling super, super hungry. And why that's so important is because your appetite is kind of like a pendulum. So if you are over here, restrict, you're more likely to go all the way over here into the binge eating. And that's because when you're skipping meals, your body kind of thinks that it's starving, you know? And with that starvation, once you see food, you're more likely to just want it all. That's like when you think that you're like, you don't have any control. That's probably why. You're restricting so much that when you see food, you want to eat a lot of it so your body can actually store that, so it can be better prepared if you are in starvation mode again. So kind of staying in the middle is really what we want. So having those regular meals, like I said before, that will be in the food piece area. So staying in the middle, having those regular meals, that will keep you energized and prevent you from overeating later on during the holiday meal. So going into the holiday meal and just in daily life, this is what we recommend all year around, is the balanced plate. So about half of the plate is vegetables, about 1/4 of the plate is starch, and then the other 1/4 of the plate is protein. So you don't have to like separate everything like this picture shows. You can eat it all together, but just to give some guidelines on portion size, this is what you're looking for. So now that you made it through the day, you're at your holiday party, my first suggestion is when the buffet line opens, grab a plate, an actual plate. It's very common for people, especially the cooks, to just kind of like graze all day or just like pick off some things. And that makes it really hard to know what you're eating. And then it also makes it really hard to know like the composition of and how much you're eating. So use an actual plate is my first tip. And then load up on those favorite veggies that you have. Think about colors, so think carrots, eggplant, cauliflower, broccoli, leafy greens, something like that. Just to get a variety of colors in that half a plate, or more if you want. And if you don't usually see veggies at your holiday meals, I know some families aren't really into vegetables that much, so that's totally fine. How about you bring them? So I have some easy side dishes. You can do roasted carrots with some olive oil and salt, really easy. Or you can even bring like a veggie platter with hummus. Or you can do like a mixed green salad with just a store-bought dressing on the side. And then if you're looking for something a little more, with a little more steps and a little more fancy, I did create some recipes that you were provided, and then the Facebook Live, and other people will be able to see it on Facebook later. So the kale and butternut squash salad, the Brussels sprouts and leeks, or what was the salad? Oh, the Parmesan green beans, sorry about that. So any of those options, yeah, you're totally made for this. And then if you bring it, you know that you'll have something to eat, and maybe your family will enjoy it too. And then after you go through the veggies, you want to look for your protein sources. So we usually recommend lean proteins for the daily, everyday. But during this holiday meal, it's okay to have those special proteins like your prime rib or your steak, because this only happens once a year, you know? So just keep in mind that portion size. So that 1/4 of the plate or your palm, just keep in mind that portion size. Don't really worry about how lean it is or how not lean it is. And then after you've finished with those vegetables and proteins, go to the starches. So the things like potatoes, breads, pasta, stuffing. Try to incorporate a little of everything. So if you really like potatoes and stuffings, maybe take a half serving of each just to fit in that 1/5 portion size. And try not to go over on this one because desserts will also provide those carbohydrates. And if you're not really into these things, like let's say your family only has store-bought rolls, and you're like, well, I don't really need to eat that, then you can totally just have the vegetables and protein because you're going to get those carbohydrates in your dessert. And so, okay, you have your plate and you're gonna go sit down, hopefully. And then how do you actually like enjoy that food? So the first tip is actually sitting down. Standing up, that will just, it's not as calming, and you're also like kind of more distracted because you're able to like move around a little bit. So sitting down will put you in a calmer state. And then take a deep breath in and out, because that will take your body from fight or flight into rest and digest. And if you think about it, like if you're talking to your aunt, talking about how stressful your work life has been, your emotions are still gonna be, still gonna bring up some other stress factors. So you're gonna be in like that fight or flight. So making sure before you even eat anything, getting back into that rest and digest mode will promote digestion and absorption. And then you wanna chew well. So you wanna break down that food because the first part of digestion is in chewing. And then you wanna take breaks. So a lot of us, including me, I do it all the time, will take a bite and then before I'm even done chewing, I'll have that next bite like right up to my mouth. So a little exercise that I like to do is I like to take a bite and then put that fork down in between bites, chew all the way, swallow, and then pick my fork back up. And that will slow down your whole meal, which is great because it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to signal your brain that it's full. So if you're eating in 10 minutes, let's say, you're like, oh, I'm still hungry. I'll go back for seconds. And by the time you're done with seconds, you're stuffed, you know? So if you take your time, chew well, slow down, by the time you're done with that 20-minute meal, you might feel more satisfied. And then this is a little exercise that's kind of fun, using all 5 senses. So look at your food. What does it look like? Is it appealing? Is it festive? What color is it? Think about the smell. Does it remind you of anything? Think about the sound when it's cooking, when you're chewing, when you bite into it. Think about the touch. What does it feel like in your fingers? And you don't have to touch all of your food, but if you're like grabbing your roll, you know, think about it. Is it soft? Is it crunchy? Think about that cookie that you're holding. And then think about it in your mouth. What does it feel like? Is it buttery, crunchy, soft? And then think about the taste. Is it bitter, sweet, salty? Do you actually like the taste? Does the taste change as you eat? This exercise will help you help the people that struggle stay mindful because you're always thinking about this when you're eating. And this is actually a good exercise to do before that holiday meal because this takes practice. And then about halfway through your plate, check in with yourself. Does the food taste as good as you expected? Does it taste better? And then where is your fullness level at? So let's say you did what I suggested and ate meals throughout the day. So when you got to the holiday meal, you were at a 3. You were hungry, but you were ready to eat. And by the middle of your meal, you're at a 5. So you're at the neutral stage. So you could probably eat the rest of your food and feel perfectly fine, comfortably satisfied. But let's say you get to a 6 at the halfway point. So you're actually almost full, but you can probably take a few more bites. Take a few more bites and then assess. Are you at the 7 with it comfortably satisfied? Or are you just like a little more bites, then just take one more? So just assess where you're at and then come back to this after every bite. And then how do you feel after? Are you satisfied? Do you still want a little bit more? And it's totally fine if you're not satisfied and you went through all these practices to go back and get some because you're probably still hungry. Did the meal taste good from beginning to end? And then do you feel bloated or sick? Hopefully, if you did all of these things, you can prevent that from happening. And then you want to fit in your favorites because it's the holiday season. No foods are on the naughty or nice list. You can be mindful about your choices and you have to think about it as pulling back or splurging on your food. So if you see Cape Cod kettle chips on the table before dinner, I love Cape Cod kettle chips, but maybe that day I would probably skip them because I could have those any day. But what I can't have is my aunt's famous pecan pie. So maybe pulling back on those kettle chips to be more enjoyable with that pecan pie. And when you are eating this, just take a serving and do those same things before. Really savor that. And then stop when you're satisfied. So during parties, it's really easy to mindlessly eat because if you think about it, you'll have like maybe a bowl of Chex Mix in front of you or something, and you're talking to your friend, and your friend is kind of eating this, so you're like, oh yeah, I'll eat this too, like just being mindless about it. And so we don't want to be like Buddy the Elf and just eat everything that's around him. We want to, if you do struggle with this, you want to move away from where the food is. So move into the living room maybe, have conversations, tell stories, play a board game. Now I want to talk about alcohol. So if you do enjoy drinking during the holiday, just think about water and then wine and then water again. So a glass of wine is about 100 to 300 calories, and then a beer is about 100 to 400 calories. So if you think about having water and then your alcohol, that will prevent dehydration, and then it will also kind of combat those empty calories, because alcohol doesn't really fill us up, it's just empty calories. So there's no nutrients in it. So if you do, let's say you usually have 4 beers at a dinner party, that's about 800 calories. So let's say you did the water, a beer, the water, and then a beer. That's cutting the calories in half already. And if you did want to do something that's like a little more special, do like seltzer water or something like that. And then try to move your body, but make it fun. Try to incorporate family members. If you like really wanted to do a class, maybe talk to your family and see if they want to join. Even doing something like a walk after the meal. I know it's kind of cold here, but I don't know. Who knows? We'll maybe get like a 60-degree Christmas. And then, so just try to make it fun, because exercise helps relieve some of that holiday stress. And then it'll also regulate your appetite. And then try not to stress over this one day, because it's really not worth it. It's not really about this day, it's about the days leading up to it and after. So let's say you have the Thanksgiving meal, the Christmas meal, and 4 holiday parties. That's only 6 meals. And on average, if we're eating 3 meals a day, we're eating 1,095 meals per year. So that comes out to be 0.005% of your yearly meals. Really, it's not going to make a difference if you overindulge just a little bit. So you really don't have to stress about that one day. And then some takeaways. Remind yourself that it's not all about the food. And it's really not about the holiday meal either. It's about those days that's leading up to it. Balance your plate with veggies, protein, and starch. And use mindful eating to leave the holiday party feeling satisfied but not sick. And you can use mindful eating for the whole year. And then try a new recipe to add to this spread. It's not really about taking away things. I don't want you to be like replacing, all of your potatoes with cauliflower or something like that. You don't need to do that. This is just one day, and it's a special day. So try to not take away things, but add things. If you want to have those vegetables, you can bring them. And those are the recipes that I provided. And with that, that is the conclusion of my presentation.
ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Can you recommend a good source of healthy recipe? For example, a cookbook or a magazine?
I know the Dash Diet cookbook is really helpful. I'm sure there's like a Mediterranean cookbook out there. I don't know exactly like the name of it, but I would recommend any of those recipes.
Could you mention options for fats? For instance, like good fats?
Yeah, so definitely things like avocado, olive oil, any nut butter, those have fats in them. So like the tahini mustard dressing that I have on the Russell and leek salad in that recipe, that's a good fat. So yeah, just like olive oil, avocado, and nut butters.
Then I have difficulty telling when I'm hungry. What are some signs I can look out for?
Yeah. So definitely if your stomach's growling, and sometimes when we don't have those regular meal patterns, we don't actually feel the hunger. So trying to get into that regular meal pattern, so probably having, I don't know, breakfast at 7. And if you can have breakfast at 7 a.m. every single day, try to have it at 7 a.m. every single day, and your body will kind of regulate your hunger. And then, so try to be very specific about the times that you're eating.
And then, in my experience, I get hungry about 2 hours after eating. Do you have any suggestions on what food sources I can have?
So if you get hungry after 2 hours, try to look at your meal. What is it made out of? Do you have those protein sources and those fat sources? Because that's the things that are going to keep you satiated. And then if you are hungry after 2 hours, have a protein-packed snack. So like the thing that I was talking about, like apple and peanut butter, or a cheese stick and an orange, or some nuts and a banana, something like that.
Do you have any suggestions on portions, like how much of those types of snacks to have in between?
I really think it's up to your hunger. If you are hungry, having like a cheese stick and an orange every single time you're hungry, like, yeah, just go with your hunger.
Do you have any suggestions for managing fat, salty holiday meals?
So like I said before, it's really okay to kind of have the more higher fat, higher salt on those days. And just being mindful about not having them every single day leading up to it. So maybe having something like once a week, and then having the special things on those holiday meals.
And I've heard green beans are the best vegetable. Is this true?
So like I said before, think about the colors. There's no like perfect vegetable or like the best vegetable. If you think about those colors, they're gonna have different micronutrients in them. So like red bell peppers, eggplant, cauliflower, green beans, green leafy greens and stuff like that.
So speaking of different colors, I think you've answered that, but wanted to see if you have anything to add to that. You said getting a variety of different colors of veggies is important. Why is it? And you talked about the nutrients, but anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so there's different micronutrients in it, and then actually those colors, I'm going to do a blog post on this. It's going to come out in February on the BeFit page about anthocyanins, which is the blue colors and the red colors. And that's a phytochemical in the plants, so it makes it red. And that actually has nutrients to it that will reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. So if you want to learn more about that, check out the February blog post.
Is that open to the public or only staff?
Yeah, yep, it's open to the public. I'm pretty sure it's befitmgh.com.
What is that again?
BeFit?
Oh, BeFit.
Yes, yeah.
MGH.com.
Yep.
I thank you for this recipe that you have given us.
Mm-hmm.
The Parmesan green beans. Do you have an option for people who don't eat meat or
You can try nutritional yeast. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Okay, so you can get it at Trader Joe's, or I think you can get it anywhere, I'm not sure. But replacing the Parmesan with nutritional yeast will still give you that cheesy flavor.
Okay.
I just, when you said hungry, we have to have components, is it protein and what else?
And carbohydrates.
And carbohydrates.
Yes.
Like, what if you eat like steel cut oats in the morning with a little bit, a tablespoon of peanut butter, and maybe a little bit of milk, and then 2 hours later you're starving? Why is that? I mean, you think that steel cut oats would really,
Yeah.
why?
So
Starving.
maybe adding like an egg to that meal, or just something else to keep you satisfied longer. Maybe you can try adding more of the oats. I don't know exactly how much you're eating.
Yeah, like,
But yeah, so just maybe add something else. And then if you are still hungry at that 2 hour mark, honor that hunger and have that snack of the protein packed like cheesesteak and an orange.
thank you. What about seitan?
Seitan?
Yeah.
Not familiar with that.
Seitan? It's a soy product. It's wheat, it's like gluten-free, it's a protein substitute.
Okay.
S-E-I-T-A-N.
We're dietitians also, so like, isn't seitan gluten? No, is it? So obviously
But could you
it's-
use that for protein?
It is a protein.
Yeah, you could use it as your
Is it,
protein
is
source.
it considered processed?
Yes, salty,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it for today.
Right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.